feels like the 90s, and I'm here for it. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. I am a massive fan of the original Animaniacs that dropped in the 1990s, a huge part of my childhood. The fact that Spielberg said, yeah, we want to bring that back to 2020, put it on Hulu. It will be dropping this Friday. I want to say thank you to Hulu for providing me multiple episodes of the Animaniacs. So I've watched every episode they've given me, not all of them, but from what I've seen, I definitely have a good gauge on what this season is going to bring you guys when it drops on Hulu. And let's talk about these episodes, non-spoiler, of course. So, an updated version of the 1990s animated series featuring a trio of wacky characters causing mayhem on the Warner Brothers studio lot. I think the best part about this is you have the original voice cast returning to play their roles in its entirety. Yakko, Wakko, Dot, down to Frank Welker as Ralph the Guard, whose presence I think is integral. And I believe everyone and everything that you know and love about this show somehow makes a return. It's just kind of brought to us in this authentic 90s feeling way. I got a lot of nostalgia. A wave of nostalgia hit me in that first episode from the cold open that I think most of us have seen with the Jurassic Park references, clearly, to the kind of idea of the first few episodes playing on the fact that it is a revamp, a reboot. We're going to try to play into that trope, make fun of ourselves in the process, very self-aware, knowing that we've been gone for 22 years, and they kind of convey that multiple times just in the first episode alone. Okay, what have we missed? What are we trying to catch up on? A really clever way of doing that, and of course, the music comes into play within the first couple of episodes. There's a really entertaining song getting the Warner siblings and the audience kind of caught up in the process. And another thing that I love about Season 1 is the fact that it was written and kind of put on screen in 2018, so they acknowledge that they are 2 years behind. It's really hard to be relevant when you're that far, and I know 2 years, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're that far behind. So at one point, they're making predictions on what happened between 2018 and 2020, but even though they've kind of missed out on the previous 2 years when it comes to the writing, they're still oddly topical for 2020. It's really strange how they were able to come up with what they came up with, but the Animaniacs is just a constant and consistent set of references, jokes, gags that I think is just going to bring in old and new fans alike. If you're older and you grew up with this show, or you were just a fan of it when you were in your 20s and 30s, now say you have kids or grandkids, you get the opportunity to introduce them to the Animaniacs that feels exactly like the original show felt, but like I said, with a modern update. We also have to talk about the art style here. A lot of these reboots or remakes, they attempt to change it completely or drastically. This captures every bit of what we love about the original, even down to the character designs. They're almost exactly the same, just modernized and updated, but exactly what fans want, I think. Now, not every gag works. Not every episode holds, I think, the best writing it possibly could have. There are a couple of moments where it just kind of falls into the trap that it sets up for itself. We're going to make fun of ourselves, but sometimes you can be too on the nose. And I do believe it got there, but the majority of the jokes and the majority of the references and gags worked really well for me. And then our characters, Yakko, Wakko, and Dot, they feel like they never left us. It feels like they've been with us all of these years. Wakko loves to eat. Dot is consistently outdoing herself. The tropes that we know from the Warner Brothers and sister, they are there, they are present, and they just recapture almost every bit of magic from those specific characters. Now, I've talked a lot about the Warner Brothers and Warner sister. I want to talk about Pinky and the Brain, because it was confirmed, not a spoiler, that Pinky and the Brain would return, and every bit of what they bring to the screen, I think, is just as important as what we get from kind of the other half of the show, because as we did with the other episodes, we kind of transition between the Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, and what Pinky and the Brain are able to do is just give us a bit of a break, and I hate to say it like that, from the other side of the coin, because while I loved watching the Animaniacs do what they did and engage in all of the madness that they engage in and play on things and bring us these Hollywood tropes and lay them out on screen for young kids to see and say, hey, here's what you're going to get because here's how Warner Brothers operates, and I think that's fantastic. Pinky and the Brain. What are we going to do tonight? We're going to take over the world, and kind of descending into that madness every single episode is fantastic and just as entertaining, just as fun as I had hoped it would be. Pinky and the Brain, maybe even more so than the Animaniacs, felt like it never left us. They do a great job of catching us up. What have they been up to over the past 22 years? The first episode was fantastic, the way they transition into that, and their chemistry is so good. The voice acting is so spot on. It's everything I remembered about those two adventurous and wacky characters. And then the fourth wall breaking, obviously, both shows do a great job. There's one episode, at the end of the episode, they have a press conference to reflect on what that episode brought us, and the Animaniacs are sitting there answering questions about what happened with the plot. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And of course, they're going to bring up social media and the internet and getting likes on Instagram. That's kind of implemented into one of the episodes of Pinky and the Brain, and all of these things that we don't think about, the fact that they just didn't exist when this show was out in the 90s. But oh yeah, they have to get caught up like we have to get caught up on the Animaniacs. Now, they may overplay that just a bit. In the reboot episode where they really hit hard on that, they may even go a bit overboard because we've seen so many shows and movies kind of tackle that trope. Yeah, there's a lot of reboots and a lot of remakes in Hollywood. How many are they going to do? And then, of course, they're a reboot, so they're playing on that. And I think that may have been a bit on the nose at times, and it got me worried. I'm like, I don't want this to continue to be a thing throughout the season. Thankfully, it isn't. I also, I wanted them to kind of diversify the humor a bit as we went along through the season, and unfortunately, some of the jokes come off as almost the exact same joke told in the previous episode. So I do think the freshness of the humor is something that they could tweak and work on in the next season, and then just kind of diversify those jokes. I feel like the humor in the Animaniacs is very straightforward, and that's not going to work for everyone, but for those familiar with the characters, and if you can get on board with the style of humor in the first episode, maybe if you've never even seen this show before, then I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy yourself. And you know, maybe it's nostalgia at play. Maybe it's the fact that I wanted to see a lot of this kind of humor, but I had a really, really good time with the Animaniacs reboot on Hulu, and I just thought they really recaptured the magic from these characters, and that's all you can ask for with a show like this. We just need the magic to return. The incredible voice cast. They are so good. Pinky and the Brain, and even some of the reoccurring side characters, and then of course playing on the fact that you are updated in modern times. What have we missed? They do a great job of that. So overall, I was really happy with the way that Season 1 progressed. I'm excited for Season 2. Before I give you guys my score, thank you so much for joining this video. If you'd like to support this channel, be sure to subscribe. If you're a fan of Animaniacs, drop this vid a thumbs up. And as for my score, going a 75% for Animaniacs in 2020. That's just so weird to say out loud. And just let me know what you guys think of this show. What you think of the intro, how they change up some of the lyrics there, and just adding another level to this already funny show. You're the best. Truly appreciate it. Stay tuned. Lots of reviews to come this week, and I'll see you soon.